Welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we are actually moving right through the month of August. I can't believe it's already August 14th. So it feels like the middle of August, and I think our weather has been kind of going up and down. I remember toward the beginning of August, we were warning all of you out there to stay hydrated because of the heat advisory. And now it's like, okay, we're at a cool pace. We're all right. The weather is leveling out, and I'm okay with that. But I hope you guys have been enjoying August and enjoying this show. As always, if you are loving what you are seeing with this show, please like it, tag a friend, share it with someone you know, share it with someone outside of the state. And thank you, all of you guys, for all of your support. You guys know I got to throw it over to my guy, Big O. Big O, man, happy Friday, man. Made it through this week. First week in the studio.
Yeah, happy Friday. And we made it through our first week here in the studio. A big leap for us over here. Couldn't do it without the viewers' support and everything else. And we're finalizing our plan of how we're going to build it out. It's just going to be a really dope creative space, for us as well as for the community.
So excited.
Yeah. No matter what, today is Feel Good Friday.
Yes.
We got a lot of incoming news here that just kind of popped up that we'll discuss here today. But we got I got a surprise here for all of you guys here on our Feel Good Friday here. I got to thank Bobby Steels. Can we get a close up on this, Daryl? I got to thank the postman, Bobby Steels, who continues the delivery. Came with the baby Yoda. You know what I'm saying? I got the baby Yoda on him, man. This is how we're doing it. Let's see here. Well, let me get back to the news here. I've got too many messages coming in at the same time, literally. First thing up here is Council Member Gurmai Zaharai.
Yes.
Yeah, represents he has a very big district, actually. Represents from the Central District to the South End to it's from Montlake.
Yeah.
All the way, I think, in the Skyway. So he's got a very wide district that he's in over there. And he came over to the Liberty Bank building. It looks like he distributed some masks, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so good to catch up with him. And again, I think one of the testaments to community connection is that Gurmai was able to text me, "Hey Trey, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna be pulling up to LBB." I'm like, "Hey man, let's pull up."
20,
you know
20,
what I'm
30.
saying? Yeah.
Well, Gurmai, since you have so much pull on Gurmai, Triana, maybe you can ask him to come over here. We used to see Gurmai a lot. Hope you ain't big timing us now, council member. We used to see Council Member Zahalai a lot, especially when COVID first started.
Yeah.
He'd pop in all the time. So, we'd be more than happy to have you back down here, Council Member Zahalai, and be able to chop it up. But right here is a clip put together by yourself, by the one and only Trey Holiday, when Council Member Zahalai visited the Liberty Bank building.
Yeah.
This is Councilmember Gurmai Zahalai. Today we're out here handing out free masks to our community. COVID-19 cases are on the rise. As we loosen restrictions around King County and Washington State, there's disproportionality in who is affected by coronavirus. We're trying to go to locations where we know target populations live. People have been really excited. It shows that our local government cares about people and that we're willing to go where they are to make sure they have what they need.
Well, there he was right there.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it was great to catch up with him. And again, anytime that we could connect to our community members, another reason to be out there. COVID is still affecting us all, so we got to keep that at the forefront of people's minds.
Right. When we put this show together last night, there was only one King County Council member who was in the running show today. But it turns out that last night, the everyday marchers, they took their message across the I-90 and over to the streets of Bellevue, Washington, and they actually marched to the house of King County Council Chair, Claudia Balducci. I believe she's also the former mayor of Bellevue as well. And so the council member, she came out of her house and talked to them. And some of the things here, we'll play the clip here in 1 second. Some of the things that they discussed was the youth jail, sound transit. I guess Mayor Durkin and Councilmember Juarez are on sound transit. Some of the issues with King County sheriffs and things like that. Oh, all right. Yeah, no, it's there. But it's fine. We'll go back to it. You know, today's the first day without the whip on the set, and I believe it shows. So we'll put this clip back in the second segment here after the break. We'll go into that. But yeah, basically they marched over there. But Balducci came out. She read it. She sent me a statement. I'll actually read it now. We'll put the clip in after our first break. Let me see if we can find it here. So this is from King County Council Chair Balducci, and what she said about the everyday marchers coming to her home last night there in Bellevue. The number of people, passion, and the energy of the everyday march over such a long period of time is deeply impressive and impactful. The march in our neighborhood was peaceful, energetic, and it made an impression on me and my neighbors. I welcomed the evening marchers to my neighborhood, and we had a long and I thought really good discussion on the issues they are raising. As I said at the end of our discussion, I expect that this will be the beginning of communication, not the end, and that my colleagues and I in local elected office will be judged by our actions on the issues of Black Lives Matter, policing, housing, education, and opportunity. So that's King County Council Chair Claudia Balducci, right? And so that's what she had to say there. And we'll get the clip when we come back after the break. Oh, you found it, huh? Yeah, check your text messages. There you go. So next up, what's also going on?
I just want to say you know, real quick, I know we're going to get back to the clip later, but I just want to say this is what we've been talking about. There is a way that as an elected official, you can still address the people without it being like, you know, we're on these two different sides, we're in opposition. I love what she was saying because, again, it's an example of how you can do this differently and really build relationships basically across the aisle, right? So I just love that we're starting to see some of those examples, though. I just had to say that.
And when you say we, you're speaking for who?
Yeah, just me. Just like,
okay.
And the people. The fact that now the people can see that, right? Not you and I. When I say we, for all of you out there, when I say we, I'm talking about the collective we. One of the things that this show does really well, and I think does best, is, again, give all of us a viewpoint, an insight into what's going on behind the scenes. So much of that is not known to the general public, and it comes out right here. I didn't know that she did that, so I'm excited to see that.
And, you know, and the thing is as well, is we reached out to Councilmember Balducci because we put the clip out on our Twitter clip this morning, and we reached out to Councilmember Balducci to be able to get some feedback and comment, and she replied immediately, right away, like saying that this is what it is. Do we have our Cal Anderson clip? We do?
Let me double check and make sure.
Okay. These guys. Ooh. Nikki, where you at? So this morning, actually going on right now, but over at Cal Anderson Park, the Seattle Police Department, they made a move. We talked about it yesterday as to what was going to happen over there at the park. For people who aren't really up on it, the park was... the shelter in the park was being occupied by a group of homeless as well as their advocates, and they were saying that they wanted to repurpose the shelter into basically a shelter that would provide services for people experiencing homelessness and unsheltered and maybe chemical dependency issues and everything else. We talked about yesterday, what would the outcome be of that? What would it be that the police swept them out? Would we see like parks? We're getting a thumbs up over on which clip? Oh, okay, on the Cal Anderson clip. All right, that's fine. We'll get to it. We talked about yesterday. What would happen? Would the police be used as the first line to sweep, or would we see human services? I think what's his Jay Johnson? Is he still down there? Will we see human services be on the front line, or will we see parks be on the front line? Apparently they're talking to each other, but the police showed up today. We've got a short clip of this was early morning when they were telling people that they need to move out of the park. And this is somebody else's footage. It's notated on there.
If you don't leave, you are subject to arrest on criminal trespass and camping in the park. You have 5 minutes to leave, or you're subject to arrest.
For feeding people, we're giving out water and masks and hand sanitizer. We're giving out clothing to people who don't have clothing. We're giving out hot coffee. We're giving people a place to stay to sleep during COVID.
And so the actions going on right there. We made some phone calls this morning over to the Parks Department to see what they were talking about. Haven't really got any feedback there. Reached out to SPU, and actually me, Bobby Steels, and a few other people. We got called to help facilitate, not in a media capacity, but just because we kind of know all the players and people trust us. We got invited up at 1:30 to have a discussion around this with some of the different stakeholders. But we see that SPD is there on the scene. I reached out to the Seattle Police Department, to the public information officer, to see what their position was on this. We haven't heard back. I've heard back, but we're waiting for any kind of comment, official comment or statement from the Seattle Police Department. It's like I said, this is something that's unfolding in real time. That was right there, front and center at the at City Council. And our understanding is from talking to people this morning is that the navigation team is not involved. The Seattle Parks Department has a special team that they have to go over there and fix things up and clean things up and everything else, help people store things and that. Now that's not official from Parks, but that's just kind of us calling around to see what's happening. But this is, for people in Seattle, it's a real important case study, especially if policing here is going to change as to what's going to occur. Today, it was a good number of police that are over there, and we see there. And so, be interesting to hear from the Seattle Police Department today, as well as Parks. Parks is front and center in this. Seattle Public Utilities, and have a discussion and see what's going on.
Yeah, and I also think too that it's important that the public understand the difference, right? So if the navigation team is no longer really involved, and then Parks has a specialty team that comes out and does that, how does it look different to the public, right? And how does the public actually feel that change or the innovation or reimagining, right, of the police department? And a few months back when they did the clearings and the ID, we had footage of that as well, because the police were just coming through, literally picking up people's tents and belongings, throwing them in the dumpster. I mean, it looked very violent almost on that day. And being down there, you could hear there were some activists that were lining the police barricade where they had them. And, people were like shouting like, this is wrong, so it's such a mixed bag.
But here's what I'll say is this: for all the people who are like, yo, the police should not be involved in homeless and navigation and everything else, this is their opportunity to. I mean, it's always easy to say what somebody else shouldn't be doing, but now it's time to point the finger right here and be like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And so, we're still gonna go up there at what was 1:30. We're going up there to see to meet with some of the people up there. Yeah. But a lot of people they always say that on either side of this, whether it's the police criticizing the community criticizing the police, if all you can do is point out problems and not solutions, then you're exactly that, a critic. Mm-hmm. So if people have solutions and everything else, this is real time for it.
I think that this is also too where the transition happens too. I think what we're seeing right now is, even though there may be those who have the solutions, do they have the capacity to come to this kind of situation? So I think that's important as well. Connecting those dots is really where we're at right now. And so you're so right in that.
It would be interesting especially for people along this reimagining path here, I guess we'll call defund, is to get an analysis of capacity.
Right.
of like, okay, well, these are the organizations, they're at 20% capacity, they're at 70%, they could do this and that, then even the public would know. Because when we say like they don't have capacity, then that's kind of vague.
Right.
And it'd be interesting to really be able to drill down on that. Like, okay, well, how much capacity is required for XYZ community organization to now dispatch to Cal Anderson to get involved in the process so the police are not.
Right.
And until the public knows where this capacity is, I mean.
And I think you're so right. This is where so much information has to come about, right? In terms of this incremental pathway to kind of taking things out of the police force and moving them into community solutions. I think that you're so right that we're going to have to understand not only organizational capacity, but also then how are those resources going to fill the voids, right? So I think you're so right. And it is up to the public. It's really going to be up to all of those organizations that are involved to have their transparency on 100%, because right now the public needs to know how all of this is happening. It can't be happening in those closed doors. So I agree. Oh, love it.
Well, I always like it when you agree with me. All right, one thing that we can agree on is that homelessness is definitely a big problem in the city of Seattle. We just see it. It's everywhere. Lots of different people posing lots of different solutions. Everything from just push the people out to build housing for them. I had an opportunity, as promised, to sit down with your buddy, Emily Alvarado, the director of housing for the city of Seattle, and we had a conversation about the recent news that's come out of City Hall, which is that the city is investing $60 million to bring online 600 units of housing for those that are experiencing chronic homelessness in the Seattle area. And particularly, like we'll see on here, is that Native Americans make up 1% of the city's population, but 30% of the homeless. So here's a clip right here, my conversation with Emily Alvarado from the Seattle Office of Housing. All right, so I'm here with Emily Alvarado, the director over there at the Office of Housing for the city of Seattle. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So big news came out of the city of Seattle. You guys had a presser the other day. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so as part of the city's COVID response, the Office of Housing is really proud to be making a significant investment in permanent supportive housing. And that really is the proven solution to homelessness, particularly chronic homelessness. And what we were able to announce yesterday was an investment in nearly 600 apartments that will be service enriched, supporting individuals who experience homelessness. And our hope is that those homes are online by December of next year so that we can move people off of the streets and into safe housing.
Now that's quick. People who follow construction here in Seattle, I mean, it moves quick these days, kind of quick anyway, but that's really fast, isn't it?
Yeah, the point of this, it's a pilot, and our goal is to do a few things. One, it's to scale permanent supportive housing, but it's to do it while we're getting some cost efficiencies, per unit cost efficiencies, and part of that is by bringing the units online faster. So we have some innovations as part of this pilot. We're using some new building technologies. We are partnering with experienced builders and community-based organizations. We have a lot of ingenuity going on by our housing partners, and we are providing as much technical assistance as we can to make sure that we can move these homes through the permitting process and have people move into them.
Right. And now during the mayor at the press conference, a few times she alluded to the disproportionate amount of people of color, specifically Black people and the Native population. Is there going to be any kind of specific effort in regards to channeling this housing to these populations that are unhoused or homeless?
Yeah, great question. So a few ways that we want to achieve those racial equity outcomes. First of all, is we know that there are some providers who have expertise in serving specific communities. We are pleased to have funded Chief Seattle Club as an example, who are going to build that project, so it's designed to welcome and serve urban native populations. We also know that we can achieve racial equity by how people are referred into the housing that we fund. There is a federal obligation to use the coordinated entry system. We also know that there have been some instances where that system is not creating the equity outcomes that we want. So we'll take a balanced approach, ensuring that service providers can have referrals to meet those goals as well. The city believes firmly in affirmatively furthering fair housing, and that means that we want to have housing opportunities across the city. We take the long view on looking at geography, and so while this year, 5 of the 6 developments are in North Seattle, when you look over the course of several years, we want to see housing coming up in lots of neighborhoods. And we have units coming online, for example, this year that are permanent supportive housing and that are in Southeast Seattle, for example, with Hobson Place. Also, permanent supportive housing isn't the only thing that we invest in. While this announcement is really about scaling up our homeless response as part of COVID, we're working on a number of other strategies, including some of our broader anti-displacement work and our permanently affordable homeownership work. And we have a lot of focus there in investing in communities that are experiencing displacement, including historic communities of color. And I'd be happy to talk more about that work that we have underway.
One, if you can tell us what that property there in the Central District is all about. And then 2, maybe you can tell us about that organization that's leading that effort there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we made 6 funding awards, and you saw 5 of them were awarded, and 1 was called a conditional funding award. And that's because that project, which is a partnership with Lehigh, the Low Income Housing Institute, and Good Shepherd, the church in the central area, that project is unable to move at the same speed as the others because it still needs a zoning change in order to have the project developed. And because with this pilot in particular, we're seeking to bring units online as quickly as possible, we wanted to make it clear that that's going to operate slightly differently because it still needs zoning. So it's a conditional funding award pending that zoning change. That's a partnership, and that Lehigh has developed with the church. We have been hearing a lot from Black churches in the central area who have a strong interest in creating affordable housing using their own land. This is one example of that, and we look forward to the partnership of working together to help community achieve those outcomes.
Right. Now, in this time of COVID, we talk about the city talked about big budget shortfalls, the penalty talked to $200 million, $300 million. Maybe you can just quickly explain to the viewing public where you guys found $60 million to be able to fund this project.
Yeah, so we are very fortunate because of community to have the Seattle Housing Levy. And the $60 million are coming from our Seattle Housing Levy. We're taking 2 years of our rental capital resources from the levy to be able to invest. And that has been a source that's the backbone of our investments in housing for many years. And it's a protected source. And that's why we're able to do the kind of flexible actions like we did with this pilot. I want the public to know that we know that permanent supportive housing is the solution to homelessness, and we're using the housing levy resources that we have on hand to bring homes online as quickly as possible to help move people off of the streets. And again, as mentioned with the housing levy, we thank the community for their consistent support and their ingenuity to help us be able to make true on this promise.
All right, Emily Alvarado, Director, Office of Housing. Thank you so much for joining us on the morning.
Thank you very much, Omari. I appreciate it.
All right, so Emily Alvarado from the Office of Housing, and you see that 6 buildings online, and it looks like they're trying to work with churches in the Central District who own land. I think right now the churches are the last big Black landowner in the Central District, trying to also work with churches there who might want to build affordable housing on their church property.
Yeah, and this is something that, for me in the industry, picked up on a little bit last year, that there was, some preachers who understood, okay, their congregations have, been displaced, right? How else can they repurpose that space and bring community back and have a hub again? And so I love this. I love this kind of transition into like keeping land, in still Black ownership, which I love, but also really bringing about some opportunities for more community members to return to the Central District and to other areas that have been heavily displaced and gentrified is super awesome. So shout out to those guys for, again, being innovative, finding new ways to do things. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that as things unfold and things move forward.
All right. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we have headlines with the Emerald. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
I can't hear you. I'm not getting any sound. I have no.
Okay, there you go.
There we
you
go.
hear me now, Mike?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, good stuff, man. Whew. It's been a challenging day. All right, so let's jump right into it. I don't know if they're able to bring the headline up over there, but I know the first thing that we're supposed to be discussing today is from the national news, and the national news is President Trump around the funding of the United States Postal Service. Man, this has been a big story in the news kind of leading up to this, but I think in the last few days there's been some decisions as far as a firing of executive personnel and now the discussion around funding of the post office. So why don't you bring us up to speed on that?
Absolutely. Well, as a lot of people know, back in June, one of Trump's donors, started leading the post office, and almost immediately we had about 19 states report that the mail delivery started to be slower. Well, on Thursday, Trump got on Fox News and let everyone know that for states that wish to implement mail-in voting for the November election, they're going to need funds to do so. And it's his intention to block those necessary funds so that states can't implement mail-in voting.
Wow. So, how would Washington fall in that? Well, Governor Inslee was saying that Washington State's been voting by mail for 15 years. Do you think, I mean, just assumption right now, would that be like a second ballot, or the ballot wouldn't include the presidential, or is this something you think is going to go to court? Like, what's going to happen here?
No, that's a fair question. For states like Washington that have already been mail-in voting, we already have everything implemented so that we can get that done. But in states like Pennsylvania, where they did not have mail-in voting and they tried to implement it, they ran into a lot of issues, including lawsuits from the president to block them from adding ballot boxes so that mail-in voters could also deliver by hand.
Right, and we hear this morning, I don't know if you've been able to follow up on it, but we hear this morning that there's a lot of big sorting machines that are
Absolutely.
used to sort high volumes of mail that are being removed.
Yes, yes. So far, there are reports that there are 19 different boxes that were in the post offices to sort the mail that were just removed, and nobody knows why. There was a story by Vice yesterday where they talked to people that work for the mail, and they're saying that they didn't receive any explanation, any follow-up. They don't know when they're coming back. They don't know where they're going. They just disappeared. And these are critical to counting ballots.
All right, I'm assuming this is a story you're going to definitely stay on top of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so here on the local front and local, in the city of Seattle, we've been talking about the Seattle School District and their decision to take classes online. You did some follow-up around this with and what Superintendent Juneau and the school board's decision is. We have a lot of parents that watch the morning update show. What scoop do you have for us here?
Well, the school board was not happy with the initial decisions that came from the school district. There were a lot of holes. There were about 45 questions that they asked that they just did not get answers to. At this point right now, the school board did approve the district plan, and a lot of it is still very vague and is really unfortunate. One thing that jumps out at me is that the district is saying that by the end of September, every student will have a device to use in their homes, but they're not guaranteeing that those devices will be there by the first day of school. And nothing that I've read says anything about Wi-Fi access so that kids that get these devices are even guaranteed to be able to use them to connect. Another thing that jumps out is that parents are asking about live instruction and wondering how many instructional hours teachers will actually have to provide. And the district hasn't even given us a clear definition on what an instructional hour actually looks like in the distance learning model. So we're not even sure how much actual instruction our kids are going to receive.
Right. And now even localer, I don't think that's a word, but to the neighborhood level here, man, I see you were talking about Christy Brown and that Brown Girl Cooks. Tell us all about the Brown Girl Cooks and what's going on with Christy.
Yes, this is a great one for Good Friday. The Seattle Kitchen Collective actually has a lot of different chefs throughout the city that are providing free meals for the city. I highlight Christy because I just ate there last night, and that potato lasagna was fire. So every Thursday and Saturday from 2 to 7 p.m., anybody from the community can show up. The only question they're going to ask you is how many in your family, and they're just giving out free meals, and the food is amazing.
Yeah, it's dope. You know, those guys, they've been at it for a while, that whole collective. And Chef Christy Brown was definitely one of the people on the forefront. You know, when restaurants went down and people started getting laid off or off of work, Of course, people in our community here in Seattle and nationwide, the rates are always double unemployment because of COVID, and usually the first laid off, or you got some who are essential workers, but then they can't stay home. I mean, there's so many issues around food security and COVID in our community, and Chef Christy Brown's kind of been out there on the forefront on that. Also, she's got a restaurant opening hopefully soon when we get on the other side of everything with COVID, right?
Yes, that's what I've heard. I sure hope it happens because I would love some of that hummus on demand. So
The
hope
hummus on demand, huh? All right, the communion on union. That's what they're saying. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you joining us. Please tell everybody how they can keep up with the South Seattle Emerald.
Yes, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, or just Google South Seattle Emerald, and we're right there for you.
All right, man. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, it's going to be time for some Melanin Magic. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
I can't believe I just heard you say that. I ain't even going to repeat it. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Solisbury, as usual, joined by the very talented and color-coordinated Trey Holiday.
You know, I got to come with the colors, baby. You know, these guys was getting on me yesterday for my white on white, so I got to bring more color to the party.
Right. And so for those of you guys out there, we're talking about a clip from last night with the everyday marchers from Seattle taking it to the streets in Bellevue and going to King County Council Chair Claudia Balducci's home. You can go to the Twitter. You can go to either my Twitter at Omari Saul, or you can go to our Twitter at WWConverge, and you can see the clip right there. It's the same one minute clip. Like I said, Balducci, she came out the house, and she talked to the protesters, and it's real interesting to see how this thing's going to play out, and this dynamic is going to play out here as far as protesters and politicians, homes, people come out and talk or not talk, they're offended or unoffended, or about council chair Balducci. She was real quick to make a statement this morning when we reached out to her.
I think that, to be honest, I think we've been talking about, how people can bridge the gaps. You've been calling for the bridge builders all the way since the days of Chaz, right? In the beginning, when it was just the Chaz, it's like, we're the bridge builders. And again, we look to elected officials because they have some authority here regarding decisions that are going to be made as things kind of roll out in the city council. But the thing is that I think a lot of these elected officials, that they have the opportunity right now to do what she just did. We've been saying it. We've been saying it so much. Come out, address the people during the protest time, during the CHOP. That's exactly what we were saying. We were saying, where are the politicians? Where are the elected officials? And then when Sawan came out, there was some folks that were like, well, she was claiming victory. I mean, this thing has gone up and down. Up and down
I was there when she claimed it.
Right.
I'm the one who got it on tape.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
That was June 8th. That was the day that the Seattle Police Department evacuated the East Precinct.
Yep.
And I asked the actual question. Do you consider this a victory?
Right.
Claiming victory.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. I think that being on the front lines and having streamers and independent journalists and citizen journalists really covering this story has allowed us to see so many different characteristics that I know we wouldn't have seen if it was just major media. So again, I think what she did is just showcasing there's a way to do this differently. And also too, I want to, sorry, I had a lot to say about this.
No,
but
please.
Also too, I want to uplift John Lewis. We talked about him and his legacy a lot, and just the ideas
of the
that
Congress.
Exactly, and that he would speak to anybody across the aisle, that he would work to try to understand them, that he would be open to those discussions. I think that's what Balducci really showed.
Yeah. If I was a council member, it's kind of different because King County Council, you might not be expecting them pop up over there, but especially if I was a city of Seattle council member, and if health and home requirements allowed, man, I would, everybody meets there at Cal Anderson Park every day anyway. I would go and set up a PA and just, so instead, and then, socially distance, put the dots down there on the play field. And I would take my conversation to the people.
Yes, bro.
And then it's like, hey, we're here, PA system, give everybody masks, all this kind of stuff. I would have these guys have waited actually for people to come to their home, and they end up meeting with them anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why not just take the meeting out to the people? And that play field there at Cal Anderson is big enough to support that. Because if you're going to go out anyway, why not formalize it? Why not, like I said, set up a PA up there at Cal Anderson and go that route and be able to talk to everybody.
See, this right here is why people keep saying Omari Saul for council. They want Omari Saul for the mayor.
Omari for Converge.
You're right.
Omari for the Central District. I'm good. You think I'd go down there? Downtown.
Well,
my friend, I love my life.
Well, the thing is, too, is when people see passionate people who care about their community, care about where they grew up, I get it all the time. Well, when are you going to throw your hat in the ring? When are you going to do politics? I'm like, look, I'm still focused on my community right now. And honestly, I really want our community to see some wins, man. We've been talking about this a lot, following the money. For me, I'm nose dived into that. Man, if they're going to be doing defund, if they've already now passed some things, now we see where this money, let's follow that money trail. So
let me ask you this, because again, you're a part of the community organizations. You work with Africatown Community Land Trust. You work with King County Equity Now. How are you rating how this process is moving against the different things that your organizations want to achieve? How is it stacking? Is the process moving? Is it moving slow? Because a lot of people who watch this show are just even curious. Right. Like, is this thing moving? Is it not moving? How many other things are out there that people want to see happen? Yeah, it's moving. I mean, that's one of the things that I can say for sure is that I can feel that there's movement. Where before all of these demands really came out to the forefront, it felt like a lot of stagnation, right? It felt like a lot of bureaucracy. It's buried into a lot of,
general language, right? Stuff where you're just like, that's very arbitrary. Like, what are you saying to us in this letter? But now we're seeing a lot of traction. We're actually seeing step by step moving to getting the keys, getting the deed, like actually getting these properties. And so, I mean, even when we look at a project like Cairo, for instance, you know, Cairo, the center right there, just putting some pressure on Shelter, realize, wait a minute, yeah, maybe it's not right for us to do a full-on market rate apartment, you know, mixed-use building here. You know, let's pull off from that project. And I think even that in and of itself is a huge win. And so now it's like, you know, as organizations on the ground, we got to focus on the next steps, right? So it's hard sometimes to just celebrate the victories that you get because you're still working to secure land, to secure the deed, to get the title, whatever it is, and you're working on the specifics of the transaction. So I'll say that I'm loving this because I do feel that right now we're not in stagnation mode. You know, we are definitely in forward progress mode, and that says a lot about this movement.
So what are some of the exact next steps that King County Equity Now or Africatown Land Trust, what is it that's next up on the board?
Yeah, so for us, right now, it's about this capital campaign for Cairo. That's where so much of it is. It's this awareness. You know, Shelter Holdings said, okay, we're not going to develop. We're going to go ahead and want to sell this to a community organization. Africatown Community Land Trust has been at the table. So I do know that Africatown Community Land Trust is like, okay, well, we need to jump on a capital campaign. You know, we need to raise this $13 million. Shout out to our guy, Momar, you know, our real estate developer who's really on the ground right now, focusing on a lot of different revenue streams to bring revenue into that capital campaign, bring funding into it. And so that's right now, that's where a lot of our next steps are, is securing the capital that we need to get that building.
Okay, and so that's one thing, and that's one building that
Right.
serves one neighborhood, you know, in the Central District, right there. In a broader scope, as far as Black people across the city of Seattle, which everybody's put the spotlight on right here with these protests and everything else, what are some of the other key objectives that these different organizations that you're a part of are wanting to achieve?
I think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier in the show. So much of it is about getting all of these organizations to the capacity where they can bring solutions to some of these calls that the police were taking, right? Where we can bring community into the situation, bring community as solutions. So that's what a lot of work is going on. It's a lot of the organizations that are involved in the King County Equity Now coalition, that's what so much of them are doing right now. It's about making sure their organizations are ready and also talking to specific elected officials about the resource allocation, right? So a lot of that is also going on. And I think that, again, you know, I love what you said earlier, just seeing where organizations are in terms of their capacity, what is it that they are needing in order to be able to come down to Cal Anderson Park with solutions and do it effectively in a way that's sustainable, right? So I think that there's a lot of that kind of really working on the ground in terms of each organization figuring out how they can bring their solutions to the table.
I want to reach out to our community out there, and if there's anybody that specializes in data representation and infographics, if you could email me directly, omari@whereweconverge.com, because I think we should do, here at the Morning Update Show, I think that we should do some kind of data representation, some kind of chart that could be updated as to these are specific things that these groups are looking for. This is, you know, where these different politicians are saying they come in at and everything else. Because it's easy for the average viewer out there to be like, well, you know, like I said, is things happening, is it not happening, and everything else. And I will say, but before we talk about plans for this weekend, I will say that what was I going to say? Council members, some council members have actually gotten back to me, and so we'll be able to update everybody next week. Are we able to take a break, Daryl?
All right.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to take a short break right now, and we'll be right back. This is the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host and co-host, Trey Holiday. You guys, it's been a freaky Friday over here, man. It really has. It's been a freaky Friday, but we have made it through this episode. We're happy about that. Oh.
Yeah, and you know, I had something special kind of we're going to play down there I visited down in North Carolina last week. I guess we'll have to push it to Monday. Pops, sorry about that, but we'll air it on Monday. Let's take a stand.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We're ready to get this Friday. I'm glad this week has now come to an end. Daryl, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Any plans for this weekend?
You know what? I am excited because my mother and my sister, I'm taking them to my new favorite place, Soap Lake. So I'm excited for that. I will be, my mom was so excited. She packed 2 weeks ago. So I'm taking her out for her birthday. Where exactly is Soap Lake? So Soap Lake is up by Moses Lake, man. And it's a beautiful, beautiful resort up there. But you can also camp if you build a trailer or whatever. They got campgrounds. But it's an amazing lake right here in Washington that is like the only lake in the world with these specific minerals in it, bro. Watch, I'll have to take you one day. Get the mud all over you, bro. That's where you go and you get in the mud and everything. That's where you go and get the mud, man.
All right, fantastic. Well, looks like we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah. What about you? Any weekend notes? Nothing.
Man, you know, it's unpredictable around here. I try to make plans, something pops up, everything else. I will say this: is Good Game Alert on tomorrow? Yes. What time? 7 p.m. tomorrow for Good Game Alert. Until then, peace.
Peace.
Sing, dealer than heaven, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.